Usually when we talk about a software update on our phones, there is this expectation of just absolute precision.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like you tap a button, the screen goes black, a little progress bar fills up, and suddenly, bam, all the bugs are fixed.
Mm.
The phone just reboots and says, here's the new operating system. It's clean, it's binary, you know, updated or not updated.
Right, and we find that deeply comforting. I mean, we love that predictability. We really like things to be visible, to be perfectly categorized, and to be under our direct conscious control.
But then you step into the world of human psychology.
Right.
You step into the hidden layers of your own mind, and suddenly that simple, predictable update button is just completely broken.
It really is. It doesn't work that way at all.
Exactly. I mean, you try to install a new habit or you set a massive new goal for your life, and the system just flat out rejects it. We all know the basic self-help pitch by now, the whole think good thoughts, get good things routine. We have heard it a million times.
Yeah, the surface level stuff.
Right. But today, we are completely bypassing that surface level stuff. We are taking a deep dive into the invisible software that is secretly running our lives.
Which is so incredibly important.
It is. So, for you listening right now, our mission today is to find the exact lines of buggy code in the unconscious mind. We're going to understand the literal physics of why your conscious goals keep failing, and most importantly, we are going to learn how to actively overwrite that programming.
And I always say this is the most critical transition a person can possibly make. Because until you understand the exact biological and energetic mechanics operating beneath the surface, you will always feel like you're fighting a losing battle.
Like you're just a victim of whatever happens to you.
Exactly. You feel like a passive victim of circumstance. But once you understand the machinery, once you really get it, you shift from being a passenger in the back seat to being the active architect of your reality.
And that's exactly where we need to start. Because when people usually talk about the subconscious or the unconscious, it's almost always framed as, like, a villain.
Oh, absolutely. It gets a terrible reputation.
It does. It's treated like this scary, dark basement where we lock away our worst fears, our unhealed childhood wounds, and all those toxic impulses we just don't want to look at.
Right, like a monster hiding down there.
Yeah. But if we look at how the mind actually functions as a processing unit, treating it like an enemy seems like a terrible strategy. Imagine your mind is a vast, incredibly powerful computer.
I love this analogy.
The conscious mind, the part of you that chooses what to eat for lunch or what music to put on in the car, is just the monitor. It's just a screen displaying the end result. But the heavy lifting is all happening in the background processing in the CPU. So why is it that we are so terrified of our own CPU?
Well, we fear it because we completely misunderstand its core function, and that computer analogy is the perfect starting point. We really need a total rebrand of how we view this part of ourselves.
A rebrand of the unconscious mind. I like that.
Yeah, because to start, the term unconscious is far more accurate mechanically than subconscious. The prefix sub implies something lesser, something buried beneath us that we have to conquer or dominate.
Oh, that makes sense. Like it's inferior.
Exactly. But the unconscious mind is not a dark pit of enemies. It's not a monster under the bed waiting to sabotage your relationships or your career. Mechanically speaking, it is a brilliant repository of undiscovered truths.
Wow, undiscovered truths.
Yes, it's a massive filing system of hidden potential, and it actually holds the blueprint for your optimal path forward. It is fundamentally a guide. Its primary directive is just to course correct you toward your highest state of being.
Okay, I love the idea of it being a guide, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If it is such a brilliant guide, why does it feel so incredibly self-sabotaging? I mean, I used to do this thing in my 20s where every single time I got a major promotion at work, I would immediately pick a massive relationship-ending fight with my partner.
Yes, the classic sabotage.
Right. I thought they were just being unsupportive, but looking back, I was the one detonating the bomb right when things were going great. That doesn't feel like a helpful guide. That feels like a virus in the software.
Well, that perfectly illustrates the concept of shadow traits. Your unconscious wasn't trying to destroy your happiness. It was actually trying to protect you based on really outdated data.
Protect me by ruining my relationship.
In a twisted way, yes. Shadow traits are simply the parts of ourselves, the emotional responses or beliefs that we haven't brought into the light of our conscious awareness. Because they are unseen, they operate entirely in the dark, secretly driving your decisions.
Okay, so how does that explain the promotion fighting?
Let's look at your example. Perhaps somewhere in your early development, you internalized a belief that massive success leads to isolation. Or maybe that taking on too much responsibility means you will inevitably fail and be humiliated.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that tracks.
Right. So your unconscious mind, whose only job is to keep you safe from pain, takes that fear of success and pushes it into the shadow. It hides it away.
So when the promotion actually happens, the unconscious mind just panics.
Exactly. The monitor, your conscious mind says, hooray, a promotion, this is great. But the CPU, your unconscious mind, scans its hidden files and says, alert, success equals isolation and danger. We must execute an emergency distraction protocol.
And so it generates an overwhelming surge of irritability toward my partner.
Yes. You pick a fight. The relationship absorbs the blast. You get entirely distracted by the personal drama. And you are completely derailed from the pressure of the new job. The unconscious successfully protected you from the perceived threat of the promotion.
That is wild.
It is just running an outdated, incredibly inefficient protection program.
Wow. So the self-sabotage is literally just a misguided, highly effective attempt at self-protection.
Here it is.
And I'm assuming this is exactly where the ego steps in to manage all this chaos. Because, we usually use the word ego as an insult.
Right, like someone has a big ego.
Yeah, meaning they are arrogant or boastful. But mechanically, that is not what is happening at all, is it? It seems like the ego is just the security guard executing the unconscious mind's outdated orders.
That is a brilliant deduction, and exactly right. We have to strip the moral judgment away from the word ego. Mechanically speaking, the ego is simply your survival and coping mechanism.
So it's not bad, it's just doing its job.
Exactly. It's the defensive shield the unconscious mind deploys to navigate the friction of the physical world. Let's say a person has a deeply rooted, entirely unconscious fear of abandonment. They don't even know it's there.
Okay.
Their ego, acting as the security guard, has to make absolutely sure that abandonment never happens. So the ego might manifest as extreme, suffocating jealousy in a romantic relationship.
Right, so the jealousy isn't the actual problem. The jealousy is just the symptom.
Exactly.
The conscious mind thinks, I just want my partner to be loyal. The ego thinks, I must control their every move so they physically cannot leave me. But the unconscious root is just a terrified inner file screaming, I cannot survive being abandoned.
Precisely. And until you illuminate that shadow trait, until you pull that fear of abandonment out of the dark and update the file, the ego will just keep running that exhausting jealousy program because it genuinely thinks it is saving your life.
This is so fascinating. But if this background software is running our lives so covertly, how do we even begin to read the code? Because the unconscious mind clearly doesn't speak plain English.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Right. It doesn't send me a text message saying, hey, just a heads up, we are terrified of success today.
It communicates through signals. It is constantly sending you status reports, but it speaks in the language of patterns, visceral reactions, and symbols.
Patterns. Like what kind of patterns?
The most glaring signals are your recurring life patterns. If you find yourself repeatedly losing jobs under oddly similar circumstances, or dating the exact same type of emotionally unavailable person over and over again, or always hitting a financial ceiling no matter how many hours you work, that is not a coincidence.
So it's not just bad luck.
Not at all. That is your unconscious mind projecting a hidden shadow trait out into your physical reality, desperately looping the scenario to force you to notice the glitch and heal it.
Oh, it's like the check engine light on a car dashboard. You don't take a hammer and smash the little plastic light.
Right. That would be ridiculous.
The light isn't the problem. It's just a signal demanding that you look under the hood.
Exactly. And another major on-diagnostic tool it uses is our dream state. Because the conscious, analytical mind, that critical monitor, completely shuts down when we sleep, the unconscious finally has a clear channel to project its symbols directly.
Oh, so that's why dreams can be so weirdly specific.
Yes. Consider someone who has recurring dreams where they feel fundamentally unsafe. Maybe they're constantly being chased or trying to lock a door, but the lock is broken, or frantically packing for a trip they are late for.
I have definitely had the packing dream. It's so stressful.
It is, and this is the unconscious mind signaling that the person's nervous system is energetically living in a state of, it works perfectly here. The conscious mind and the ego are the branches and the leaves. They are highly responsive. They sway, adapt, and react to the changing weather of daily life and social interactions. But the unconscious foundation, the roots, are so deep, so thoroughly explored, and so well understood that the massive trunk of the tree remains perfectly centered.
Wow, unbreakable.
It is unbreakable. You no longer get uprooted by a rude comment, a financial setback, or an unexpected life change. You sway, but you do not snap.
That is a brilliant visual. The branches can deal with the chaos because the roots know exactly who they are.
Exactly.
But this raises a massive question. It was one thing to say my internal roots determine my internal peace. That is basic psychology. But if I am standing firm like that tree, how does my internal software actually alter the external weather?
This is the big shift.
Right. How does my internal hidden fear of abandonment actually cause a physical real-world breakup? How does my internal feeling of lack literally stop money from entering my bank account?
This is where we must transition from the realm of traditional psychology into the literal physics of intention. To truly understand how your internal software creates your external reality, we have to look at the physical universe fundamentally as energy, frequency, and vibration.
Okay. Getting into the physics now.
Yes, and this is not a philosophical metaphor. It is the measurable, mathematical reality of the physical world.
Right. Quantum physics tells us that a solid oak table isn't actually solid at all. It's just a dense mass of vibrating atoms holding a specific frequency. But it is a huge leap to go from the table is vibrating energy to my thoughts are vibrating energy that can get me a promotion.
It sounds like a leap, but it isn't.
How does my brain's frequency interact with the outside world?
It interacts because your thoughts and your emotions are not just abstract, invisible clouds floating inside your skull. They are literal bioelectric and biochemical events that generate a measurable electromagnetic field.
Wait, really? A measurable field?
Yes. Every single thought you have, and more importantly, every emotion you feel, emits a specific physical frequency. When you feel high-frequency emotions like profound gratitude, deep peace, joy, or unconditional love, your heart and brain coherence generate a highly organized, expansive, energetic signature.
And what happens when we're stressed or scared?
Conversely, when you feel low-frequency emotions like fear, unworthiness, lack, deep shame, or chronic anger, your system generates a dense, chaotic, low-frequency signature.
So we are essentially walking, breathing human radio stations. We are constantly broadcasting a signal.
That is exactly what we are doing, and the physical universe operates as a completely neutral, utterly impartial matching system.
Neutral matching system.
Yes, it does not possess a moral compass. It does not sit on a cloud judging whether you are a good person who deserves a reward or a bad person who needs to be punished.
Oh, that's a relief.
It just reads the dominant energetic output you are broadcasting, and it physically organizes realities, opportunities, and people that vibrate at that exact same frequency, drawing them into your immediate sphere.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this because this is where a lot of people, myself included, get incredibly frustrated with this concept.
I completely understand. What's the frustration?
Let's say I desire a massive upgrade in my life. Let's say I am an entrepreneur and I want a 7-figure business. I can visualize it. I genuinely want it. My conscious mind is screaming for it. I am working 80 hours a week for it. That is a high-frequency desire, right?
On the surface, yes.
So why isn't the neutral matching system delivering it?
Because of the invisible blockades we just discussed. Your conscious mind is indeed screaming, I want the 7-figure business. But remember the computer processing power.
Right. The conscious mind is just the monitor.
Exactly. The conscious mind is a whisper. The unconscious mind is an array of stadium loudspeakers. Deep down, beneath the 80-hour work weeks, your unconscious software might be continuously broadcasting a shadow belief.
Like what kind of belief?
Something like, I am fundamentally unworthy of wealth. Or, if I get rich, my family will think I'm greedy and reject me. Or even, money is inherently corrupting. The neutral matching system of the universe does not listen to the conscious whisper. It responds to the louder, deeper, continuous electromagnetic frequency of the unconscious mind.
Oh, man. That is brutal.
It is just physics.
So even if I have a vision board covering my entire wall, and I look in the mirror every morning and say, I want success, if my hidden, unhealed shadow trait believes I am unworthy, the universe just neutrally matches the unworthiness.
Exactly.
It physically delivers more clients who refuse to pay me, more sudden expenses, more situations that perfectly validate my internal feeling of lack.
Precisely. The universe gives you what you are, not what you consciously want. The continuous energetic output of a hidden belief of lack will always mathematically override the conscious desire for abundance.
That explains so much.
This is exactly why you see people working themselves to the bone, doing everything right on paper, yet constantly hitting an invisible ceiling. Their physical external actions are constantly fighting against their own internal energetic broadcast.
That is incredibly frustrating. It's like trying to drive a car 100 miles an hour while the emergency brake is fully engaged.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
But at the same time, it is incredibly empowering once you grasp the mechanics, because it means the outside world isn't out to get you. The economy isn't conspiring against you. The world is just a mirror reflecting your baseline frequency.
Which means you have the power to change it.
Exactly.
Mm.
But this brings us to a glaring practical problem. It is so easy to sit here and enthusiastically say, just rewrite the code, change your frequency. But you can't fix code, you can't see.
Very true.
If my blockades are completely unconscious, what are the actual practical everyday tools I can use to locate and clear these hidden barriers?
That is the most vital question. Awareness is only the very first step. To physically change the software, you need highly specific, practical tools for discovery and clearing. And the first and perhaps most potent tool is an exercise we can call the meditation of discomfort.
The meditation of discomfort. Okay, that sounds fundamentally terrible.
It isn't easy, I won't lie.
Right, because usually meditation is sold to us as this blissful, perfectly peaceful escape where you just float on a cloud.
Yes, and that common misconception is exactly why so many people never actually heal. They use meditation to escape their shadow, not confront it. True transformation requires walking directly into the discomfort.
Okay, so how do we do it? Give me the mechanical breakdown.
Here is the breakdown. You go into a quiet room completely alone where you will not be interrupted.
Yeah.
You close your eyes and you visualize your absolute biggest, most ambitious goal.
Okay, picturing the goal.
You picture that 7-figure business or that perfect loving relationship. You really look at it. And then, and this is the critical pivot, you completely stop focusing on the goal itself, and you turn all of your attention to listening to the internal objections that immediately flare up in your body and your mind.
Oh, you mean the inner critic, that immediate voice that steps in to ruin the fantasy.
Exactly. The moment you visualize massive success, that inner voice might suddenly whisper, "Who do you think you are to want that?" Or, "You aren't smart enough to pull that off." Or, "People from your background don't get things like that."
Yeah, that voice is loud.
Now, what most people do the absolute second they hear that voice is panic. They open their eyes, they grab their phone to check social media, they completely distract themselves, and they abandon the practice because it feels physiologically terrible.
It does, because it isn't just a thought. It is a physical sensation. Your chest gets tight, your stomach drops, you feel a hot wave of shame or anxiety. Your nervous system is literally rejecting the thought. It is deeply physically uncomfortable to sit with that.
But that specific physical discomfort is exactly the gold you are mining for.
Really, the panic is the gold.
Yes. That tight chest, that inner critical voice, that is the shadow trait finally revealing itself. It has stepped out of the dark. Sitting with this discomfort, enduring that physical sensation for 10 to 20 minutes a day without running away, is how you drag the shadow into the light.
So you don't fight it.
You do not argue with the voice. You do not fight it. You simply observe it. You mentally say, there is the belief that I am a fraud. I feel you in my chest. I see you.
Just acknowledging it.
By simply sitting with it, maintaining your conscious presence, and refusing to activate a distraction protocol, the emotional charge of that trauma begins to organically dissipate. Your nervous system finally processes the trapped energy.
It is like shining a massive flashlight on the terrifying monster in the closet and slowly realizing it's just a weird pile of laundry.
Exactly.
Once you truly see it and stare at it, it completely loses its power to terrify you from the dark. That is brilliant. What is the second practical tool for locating the bugs in our code?
The second tool is stream of consciousness journaling. Writing by hand is a profound physical action that effectively bridges the conscious and unconscious mind.
Writing by hand, not typing.
Handwriting specifically. The mechanical technique is very specific. You take a blank piece of paper and write your massive goal at the top. For example, I am building a 7-figure business. Then you put the pen to the paper and you just start writing whatever comes into your head.
Without thinking.
Without thinking. You do not edit. You do not worry about grammar or spelling. You absolutely do not pause to think. You just force the pen to keep moving across the page.
I have actually tried this before, and it is weird, because usually for the first 3 or 4 minutes, I am just writing literal nonsense.
Which is totally normal.
Yeah, I'm writing things like, I want this goal, this exercise is stupid, my hand is cramping, what am I going to make for dinner, I forgot to email Dave back. It feels totally pointless.
That is exactly the required process.
Yeah.
For those first 3 to 5 minutes, your conscious mind, the monitor, is still firmly in control, trying to dictate the output.
The monitor is still on.
But here's the secret. The conscious mind gets bored very quickly with repetitive physical tasks. Once the conscious mind gets fatigued and drops its guard, the unconscious mind slides in and takes over the pen.
Really? Just like that?
Yes, this is where the breakthrough happens. Suddenly, your handwriting might slightly change. You find yourself spilling out hyperspecific memories you literally haven't thought of in 20 years.
Oh, wow.
You start writing down exact phrases your parents used to say about money when you were 7 years old. You write down forgotten fears from a middle school rejection. The pen essentially becomes a direct, hardwired pipeline to the background CPU.
That is wild. You're literally printing out your own hidden source code onto a piece of paper so your conscious mind can finally read it and debug it.
Exactly. It's a diagnostic printout.
But what about the tools that are wildly popular right now? What about positive affirmations? Every morning routine video online tells you to stand in the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and confidently say, "I am a magnet for boundless wealth." Does that actually overwrite the code?
This is a vital mechanical warning. Simply repeating positive affirmations without first doing the deep, uncomfortable work to locate and clear the underlying negative beliefs is practically useless.
Useless.
In fact, it is an energetic trap
A trap? How can saying something positive be a trap?
because it creates massive cognitive dissonance within your nervous system. It is the equivalent of slapping a tiny smiling Band-Aid over a deep infected wound.
Ouch. Okay.
If your unconscious CPU holds a massive, structurally rooted belief that you are entirely unworthy of love, looking in the mirror and shouting, "I am deeply and unconditionally loved," creates a biological conflict.
Because the body knows it's a lie.
Exactly. Your conscious mind hears the positive words, but your body, your nervous system, and your unconscious mind immediately feel the lie. Your body tenses up. It provides a temporary, surface-level dopamine hit of relief, but it absolutely does not alter your baseline electromagnetic frequency.
So the shadow has to be cleared first.
The shadow must be seen, understood, and willingly processed first. You cannot install the new software program until you have fully uninstalled the corrupted code.
Okay, let us assume I have done the heavy lifting. For everyone listening, you sat in the excruciating meditation of discomfort. You filled 3 notebooks with your stream of consciousness journaling. You have dragged your shadow traits out of the basement, looked them in the eye, and processed the emotional charge.
The hard part is over.
The old, buggy software is finally uninstalled. The hard drive is wiped clean. So how do we deliberately install the new program? How do we actively rewire our brain to generate a new physical reality?
This is where we leverage the staggering power of neuroplasticity. The human brain is not fixed. It constantly learns, prunes, and rewires its physical neural pathways through relentless repetition and heightened emotional suggestion.
Okay, neuroplasticity. I like the science side of this.
To install the new code, we utilize a highly specific, historically renowned method for intention setting. It relies on the mathematical principles and rhythms of the universe, specifically utilizing the numeric sequence of 3, 6, and 9.
The 3-6-9 method.
Yeah.
I love how wonderfully precise this is. It isn't just, think about it sometimes. Let's break down the exact mechanical setup for this. How do we actually execute it?
First, you must formulate your intention with architectural precision. It must be a clear, concise sentence stated firmly in the present tense, as if the reality has already completely materialized.
So no wishing.
Exactly. And it must be heavily infused with a high-frequency emotional state, usually profound gratitude. So instead of writing a wishful statement like, "I really hope I get a new job soon," you construct a statement of fact.
Like what?
Something like, "I am so incredibly happy and grateful now that I am thriving in my ideal, high-paying career position."
I see. You are linguistically tricking the brain's processing center into experiencing it as a current, undisputed reality.
Exactly. Then you initiate the numerical repetition routine. You dedicate a specific notebook for this. Upon waking up in the morning, when your brain is still operating in the slower, highly suggestible alpha wave state and the conscious filter hasn't fully booted up, you physically write this exact sentence 3 times.
Okay, 3 times in the morning.
Then, right in the middle of your day, amidst the chaotic beta wave stress of your normal routine, you intentionally pause, center yourself, and write the exact same sentence 6 times.
6 times midday. Got it.
Finally, right before falling asleep, as your brain transitions down into the deep, suggestible theta wave state where memory consolidation occurs, you write the sentence 9 times.
3 times in the suggestible morning, 6 times to interrupt the midday chaos, and 9 times to program the brain before sleep. That makes perfect neurological sense. And how long do we have to maintain this exact routine, just until we feel better? A week.
No, this is a physiological process. It must be done with unbroken consistency for a minimum duration of 45 days.
45 days. Why specifically 45 days?
Because creating a robust, entirely new neural pathway in the brain, actually building the myelin sheath around the new neurons so the thought becomes automatic, takes sustained, relentless repetition.
Oh, building the myelin sheath.
Mm.
Literally building the brain.
Yes. It takes about a month and a half to establish a completely new baseline frequency in the unconscious mind. If you do it enthusiastically for 9 days and then start because you get busy, the brain will simply prune the weak new connection and the old dominant neural pathways will instantly take over again.
Well, wait, I have to stop you here. Just 10 minutes ago, you explicitly warned us that just repeating positive words without doing the deeper work is a trap. It causes cognitive dissonance.
I did say that.
So just mechanically writing down a sentence 18 times a day like a robot doing lines in detention isn't going to magically alter my bioelectric field, right? There has to be a catalyst.
You have zeroed in on the absolute most critical mechanism of the entire process. The physical act of writing the words on paper is merely the vehicle. It is just the steering wheel.
So what's the engine?
The true engine, the actual energetic magnet that physically alters your broadcast frequency, is the specific emotional state you attach to the visualization while the pen is moving.
Okay, unpack this. How do we mechanically attach the emotion so it actually works?
When you are sitting there writing those sentences, you absolutely cannot be mentally reviewing your grocery list or worrying about an email. You must vividly, intensely visualize having already achieved the goal. You have to place your consciousness entirely inside the end result.
Really immerse yourself.
Yes. If it is the new career, you must feel the physical weight of the new office chair, feel the firm handshake of your new boss, hear the exact tone of voice of your colleagues congratulating you, and physically feel the massive wave of relief regarding your financial security.
Okay, I can picture that.
And as you hold that vivid visualization, you must actively summon and sustain the soaring feeling of joy and accomplishment. And here is the exact metric. You must hold that specific high-frequency emotion without letting your mind wander for a minimum of 17 continuous seconds.
Wait, 17 seconds. I really have to challenge this. That sounds incredibly gimmicky, almost like a parlor trick.
It sounds like it, but it isn't.
Are you seriously telling me that if I just feel good about a Ferrari or a new job for exactly 18 seconds, the universe just magically drops one in my driveway? How does feeling a subjective emotion for a few seconds literally change physical, biological reality?
It is not magic. It is pure neurochemistry and quantum biology. 17 seconds is the precise physiological threshold where an intensely held thought begins to chemically and neurologically alter the state of your body.
17 seconds is the tipping point.
Exactly. Think about the reticular activating system, or the RAS, in your brain. Its job is to filter the millions of bits of sensory data around you and only show you what it believes is important. The brain literally cannot differentiate between a vividly, emotionally imagined event and an event that is actually happening in the physical three-dimensional world.
Right, like if I imagine biting into a sour lemon, my mouth actually waters. My salivary glands don't know the lemon is fake.
Exactly. So when you hold that profound joy and gratitude for the new job for 17 solid seconds, your brain signals your endocrine system to release a massive cascade of specific neurochemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, as if the event had already occurred.
Wow.
Your cellular receptors physically absorb these peptides. Your heart rate variability changes. Your entire bioelectric field expands. By repeatedly inducing this physiological state 3 times, 6 times, 9 times a day for 45 days straight, your body's baseline state physically mutates.
It mutates.
Yes, your reticular activating system is now permanently programmed to aggressively hunt for opportunities, conversations, and pathways that match this new reality. You literally become an energetic and biological match for the outcome you desire.
Okay, when you explain the actual neurochemistry of it, that is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
We are talking about deliberately hacking our own cellular biology and our quantum broadcast. We are building new neural architecture.
It is incredibly powerful.
But, and here is where I have to bring us crashing back down to reality. It is very easy to feel high vibe, perfectly aligned, and totally in control of my electromagnetic field when I am sitting alone in a quiet, temperature-controlled room with my special journal.
Yes, the isolation bubble.
Exactly. I am a Zen master in isolation. But the real test The absolute gauntlet of life is when I have to close the notebook, walk out of that room, and deal with other human beings.
And humans are complicated.
They are chaotic. They are frustrating. They have their own unhealed shadow traits. They cut you off in traffic. They send passive-aggressive emails. They yell. How does all this pristine internal rewiring survive external conflicts?
That is the ultimate crucible. It is one thing to master your internal frequency in a vacuum. It is entirely another to maintain its integrity in the friction of human connection. To navigate this, we must completely overhaul how we view our interactions. Relationships, especially our most intimate ones with romantic partners, our children, and our immediate family members, are not merely social contracts or biological ties. Energetically speaking, they are the ultimate perfect mirrors.
Mirrors, meaning they are just reflecting my own code back at me.
Precisely. They are flawlessly designed mirrors reflecting exactly where your own unconscious CPU still contains corrupted files that need healing. The intense frustrations you feel with others are almost always highlighting your own unacknowledged hidden shadow traits.
Oh, that is hard to hear.
It is. But to master this external environment, there's a profound framework of 6 dimensions for healing and transforming how we interact.
Let's weave through these dimensions, because this is where the rubber meets the road for our daily lives. I imagine the very first hurdle is simply realizing you can't control the people around you, right? You have to let go of ownership.
Exactly. And that is the foundational first dimension, accepting their existence as sovereign entities. This sounds intellectually basic, but in practice, it is incredibly difficult. You do not own anyone.
Not even your kids?
No, you do not own your partner, you do not own your employees, and crucially, you do not even own your children. You are merely a guide, a temporary channel for their entry into this experience.
That is profound.
They are completely separate energetic entities with their own unique unconscious programming, their own shadow traits to process, and their own specific path to walk. The very moment you act like an owner rather than a guide, the moment you try to dictate their reality, you create massive, destructive, energetic friction.
That is a deeply tough pill to swallow, especially for parents. The idea that you don't actually own the path your child takes. And I suppose that leads directly into the next aspect, which is accepting them exactly as they are right now.
Yes, dimension 2.
Because when we get into relationships, we almost always carry this secret, arrogant agenda. We think, I love this person so much, but if I could just fix this one annoying habit or change their political belief or make them more ambitious, they would be perfect.
And that secret agenda is an aggressive violation of their energetic space. Trying to force someone into your ideal, customized mold is an attempt to overwrite their unique programming with your code. It never, ever works.
This makes them mad, usually.
It only breeds deep resentment, defensive posturing, and resistance. True, high-frequency connection requires accepting the absolute entirety of their current software, complete with all their bugs and glitches.
Right, because if someone is constantly trying to fix you or optimize you as a project,
Yeah.
you don't feel unconditionally loved. You feel managed. You feel judged.
Which brings us to another crucial dimension, the recognition of true equality. The physical universe views every single individual as an equally valuable, entirely necessary drop in the exact same infinite ocean. There is zero hierarchy in the quantum field.
No one is better than anyone else.
Correct. The billionaire CEO is not energetically above the person cleaning the floors. The parent is not spiritually above the child. When you truly, deeply internalize this equality, your interactions instantly lose that toxic edge of superiority or inferiority that poisons so many daily interactions.
That levels the playing field completely. But what about when someone is doing something genuinely wrong or annoying? I want to talk about the dimension of judgment because I think this is where most of us fail daily.
This is perhaps the most critical mechanical shift. We have to understand the literal physical physics of judgment. When you judge someone in your mind, even if your face is perfectly blank and you never say a single negative word out loud, your brain is generating a highly dense, chaotic, negative electromagnetic frequency.
Even if I don't say it.
Even if you don't say it. Because we are all fundamentally connected in this underlying field, and because our nervous systems are designed to read microexpressions and energetic shifts, you are actively transmitting that negative frequency directly into their field.
Wait, really? Are you saying that if I am just quietly sitting at my desk, silently judging my coworker for being lazy and incompetent, they literally feel it physically?
Absolutely, without question. Human unconscious minds communicate continuously, far beneath the threshold of spoken language. Within days or weeks, their nervous system will unconsciously pick up on that dense energy you are transmitting.
That is wild.
And ironically, their system will react to that subtle threat by reflecting that exact negative behavior back to you even more intensely. Your silent internal judgment literally fuels and amplifies the exact lazy behavior that frustrates you.
That is deeply terrifying. We are literally creating the monsters we're constantly complaining about. My judgment of their laziness creates more laziness. So how do we possibly reverse that biofeedback loop?
You reverse it by consciously utilizing the next dimension, transmitting belief in their hidden potential. Instead of broadcasting the dense frequency of judgment, you deliberately broadcast the high frequency of validation.
So, assuming the best about them.
You must approach every person with the genuine internal conviction that they are a treasure chest of untapped brilliance. When you broadcast the frequency of belief towards someone, you literally alter their biochemical environment.
Really? Just by believing in them?
Yes, mirror neurons in their brain fire in response to your open, non-judgmental state. You raise their internal motivation, lower their defensive cortisol levels, and they will naturally begin to exhibit their absolute best behavior simply because you are providing the safe, high-frequency energetic space for it to bloom.
It is the ultimate scientifically backed self-fulfilling prophecy. If I view you as capable and brilliant, your biology rises to meet that frequency. If I view you as a failure, you sink to match the density. It's incredible.
It is the foundation of all healthy relationships.
But, and this is a massive but, we have to talk about the final dimension. We have to talk about boundaries. Because a relationship is supposed to be a team based on mutual respect. Let's say I am doing all this work. I am viewing my partner with equality. I am broadcasting belief in their potential. I am not judging them. But then they do something that blatantly, aggressively violates my respect. They cross a major line.
It happens. People cross lines.
Right. And a lot of people in this whole high-vibe, positive energy community seem to think that setting boundaries means just pasting on a fake smile, ignoring toxic behavior, and suppressing your anger just to keep the peace and keep your frequency high.
And that is a catastrophic misunderstanding of how energetic mechanics actually work. If someone violates your respect and you choose to swallow that completely justified anger to keep the peace, that suppressed rage doesn't just vanish.
Where does it go?
It is a massive low-frequency electrical charge. It gets physically trapped in your nervous system, drastically lowering your overall frequency, creating chronic stress, and eventually manifesting as physical illness.
Wow, so suppressing it is physically dangerous.
Very. But on the other extreme, if you instantly explode in uncontrolled reactive rage, you create chaotic disruption and generate massive negative biofeedback for both of you. Both reactions are mechanically destructive.
So what is the healthy, mechanically sound method for enforcing a boundary when someone crosses the line? Because suppressing it kills me, and exploding destroys the relationship.
The mechanics of a healthy boundary require profound internal discipline. It is a three-step process. First, you must process the raw electrical charge of the anger privately. You immediately remove yourself from the situation.
Just walk away.
You go to a safe, private space, and you physically release the energy. You scream into a pillow, you do 10 minutes of high-intensity sprinting, you grab a notebook and journal furiously with zero filter. You do whatever it takes to discharge the raw physiological adrenaline and cortisol from your nervous system. You absolutely cannot communicate effectively while holding that high-voltage charge.
Okay, so step one is disarming the internal bomb in private, so you don't blow up the room.
Exactly. Then comes step two. Once you are fully grounded, breathing deeply, and operating from your integrated, deeply rooted trunk, not your violently swaying emotional branches, you return.
Calm and collected.
You look the person directly in the eye. You state clearly, calmly, and without any emotional hyperbole exactly what behavior was unacceptable. And critically, you state the exact, specific consequence that will occur if that behavior happens again.
So instead of yelling, you always disrespect me, you say calmly, if you speak to me with that condescending tone of voice again, I will immediately end the conversation and leave the house for the evening.
That is a perfect, structurally sound boundary. And then comes step three, the absolute most critical part of the entire framework. If they cross that line again, and human nature dictates they probably will, just to test the structural integrity of the new boundary, you absolutely must enforce the stated consequence without a microsecond of hesitation.
You actually have to do it.
You grab your keys and you leave the house. If you state a consequence and fail to enforce it because you feel guilty, you completely destroy their respect for you. Worse, you signal to your own unconscious mind that your words and your self-protection mean absolutely nothing.
Ouch. You betray yourself.
Consistently enforcing the boundary is an act of profound self-respect and pure energetic integrity.
So setting a boundary has absolutely nothing to do with controlling their behavior. It is entirely about controlling yourself, managing your own nervous system, and strictly defining what energetic frequencies are allowed to exist within your personal orbit.
Exactly. It is the ultimate manifestation of integration. The conscious mind calmly deciding the rule, the ego delivering the message clearly and firmly, and the unconscious mind resting securely in the absolute knowledge that it is finally being protected.
Okay, my mind is completely blown. Let me try to synthesize this massive, incredible journey we have taken today. We started by completely overhauling our relationship with our own minds. We realized that the unconscious isn't a dark basement to be feared, it's a powerful background CPU.
Exactly.
It is full of terrified shadow traits that cause us to self-sabotage, but all they really want is to be seen and integrated so we can finally become that unshakable, deeply rooted tree.
The essential foundation of all change.
Then we made the leap into quantum biology. We realized that the physical universe is just a massive radio tuner, an entirely neutral matching system that only delivers external realities that perfectly match our internal electromagnetic broadcast. If we want a new reality, we cannot just consciously wish for it. We have to fundamentally alter the broadcast.
Moving from passive wishing to active biological alignment.
We dug into the intensely practical tools to do this, sitting in the excruciating meditation of discomfort so we can finally hear the terrified whispers of our shadow, using stream of consciousness journaling to physically dump our corrupted code onto paper, and avoiding the toxic trap of empty, emotionless affirmations that just cause nervous system dissonance.
Right, doing the real work.
Then we learned the exact mathematical Neuro-Hack, the 3-6-9 repetition method over 45 days, powered by the critical mechanism of holding the vivid physiological emotion of the end result for a minimum of 17 continuous seconds, literally rewiring the reticular activating system to turn the body into a magnet.
The precise mechanics of manifestation fully realized.
And finally, we brought it all out into the real world. We learned that every chaotic relationship is just a mirror reflecting our own code. We have to let go of ownership, remove our judgment glasses to stop transmitting toxic electromagnetic density, actively broadcast belief in people's hidden potential to change their neurochemistry, and ruthlessly protect our own frequency by privately processing our anger and calmly enforcing rock-solid boundaries.
A fully comprehensive mechanical system for rewriting your reality from the inside out.
And this brings it all directly back to you, the listener. The most important, life-altering takeaway from this entire exploration today is that you are no longer at the mercy of autopilot programming. You are not a passive victim of a bad economy, bad luck, or a bad childhood.
You really aren't.
You are the architect. You now possess the exact mechanical tools, the uncomfortable journaling, the 45-day neuroplasticity rewiring method, the biological boundary-setting techniques to actively debug your software and deliberately design your physical reality, starting the exact moment this audio ends.
The absolute truth is that the tools are now in your hands. The only remaining question is whether you will muster the courage to use them to write beautiful new code, or simply let the old, terrifying software keep running your life on loop.
Which leads me to a final, slightly provocative thought to leave you with, something to deeply chew on as you go about the rest of your day. If the physics of intention are genuinely real, and if every single person you interact with is truly just a flawless mirror reflecting a hidden part of your own unconscious programming, I want you to stop and ask yourself this. Who is the absolute most difficult, frustrating, completely infuriating person in your life right now? And what hidden, unhealed, shadowy part of you are they desperately trying to force you to look at? Because the moment you finally figure that out, the software updates.